morning everyone, welcome to Cooking with Gigi. Today we're going to be making a pasta dish, fresh Shrum sauce, a recipe we picked up in Wyoming this last fall from a good friend. So basically what I did this morning is I made a ball of pasta. I'm going to roll it out here soon and cut it. We're going to cut it into fairly fine angel hair just because it's a nice lighter in the palate when you're mixing it with a nice creamy clam sauce. For the sauce we'll be sauteing some garlic and onions. We'll be putting in some fresh Italian parsley and mushrooms. We'll simmer that all and cook it down a bit with a bit of wine, and once that's all kind of cooked down and reduced a bit, we'll add some cream to it, stir it up, heat it up again, reduce it just a little bit, and add in our Asiago cheese to make it a nice rich creamy sauce. Sorry, I forgot the clams. We will putting the clam juice in as we're reducing the other liquids, and then the clams will go in just right at the very end just to heat them up nicely. So the pasta was made this morning, and basically once the ball comes together, you want to wrap it up in some cellophane and let it sit and rest and let the gluten come together. You always want your pasta to be very, very dry, because if you don't, it's just going to come up to be a sticky mess. Okay, so here we've got our pasta all rolled out here, and I'm just going to cut them maybe in half or so, just because it's going to make slicing just a little bit easier. This one here is pretty long, so I'll just cut her in a couple pieces. It's also so that you, after it's cooked and you're eating it, that you're not eating an endless piece of pasta. As you can see, the dough is nice and dry; it's not going to stick together. And change up the head to the cutter. If you like pasta, I highly recommend you get a pasta roller and cutter. And then all we do is we just take and feed these suckers through here. As you can see, we got a nice light fine angel hair pasta. Okay, so there we have all the pastas all cut up. I've had the pasta pot on earlier and boiling, so we're all ready to go. We'll just take this and plop her in. It's not going to take too long to cook. Fresh pasta cooks very quickly, not like that dried out stuff you get at the store. So we'll just throw that all in there. Give it a quick stir, and I test it in about 3 or 4 minutes. Put it on for 4. Might take a little bit longer, might take a little bit less. I like to kind of give it a bit of a stir just to make sure clumps don't stick together. Okay, so there we have it. That was about 4.5 minutes. I didn't want to get it too soft, but I'm going to take it and we will just remove it from the pot quickly here. And if you don't do this step, your pasta will continue to cook and it'll just be a mushy, soggy mess. So we'll just put it in some cold water and stop the cooking process. And from here, like I said, I'll save the hot water because I'm going to want to just dip the pasta in it to warm it up before we plate it. To start the sauce, as I said, we're going to put some butter and garlic and some white onions for those that want exact measurements of how much I'm cooking. That's not the way I cook, so figure it out. about this much. Once we just soften those onions up a bit, I'm going to put in the juice from the clams and a little bit of white wine that I stole from Donna because she wasn't looking. Otherwise she wouldn't let me. And then just let that simmer down. The only spice I'm really going to use is salt and pepper. The clams, the parsley, the mushrooms, and the cheese will be the main source of sauce of spice. I used about the better part of a head of garlic because we like garlic lots, and it certainly helps with the social distancing. So I'll just let that soften the onions up and release the flavor a bit. Okay, and in goes the wine. Now you can turn up the heat, and in goes most of the clam juice. And if you were to leave it like that, I just feel that it just becomes a little bit too runny of a sauce. I like thicker, meatier sauce. You can use a thickener, you can use flour or a roux of some sort. I prefer not to, watching my carbs. So we'll just let this reduce down. Okay, as you can see, reduce this quite substantially because we want the flavors, we don't want the liquid, we don't want the water part of it. So when we're going to cook the mushrooms contain a lot of water, so they will provide the rest of the water that we're going to need for this dish. Just going to quickly give it a little bit of salt and pepper. This is to your own taste, whatever you feel that you like. Give it a quick stir, let it evaporate a bit more. And we will throw in the mushrooms. Again, quantity doesn't matter. This recipe seems to call for lots of mushrooms, so now we'll just fry those up. So I'm not going to cook these right down because the mushrooms do provide a bit of texture if they're not fully cooked. As you can see, we got some of that moisture back that the mushrooms sucked up from when I originally put them in. So I'm just going to dump in a pile of Italian parsley, and that won't take too long to for this. I just mix her in kind of gradually. Don't worry if you make a bit of a mess because the camera person is the cleaner as well, so you don't have to worry about that. Okay, so that's been simmering for a few minutes here, and you can see how that's starting to thicken up a bit. Again, you can use a thickener if you choose to. I just choose not to. You know, some people don't like a cream sauce. You could certainly have this without adding the cream. You know I have a few friends that don't particularly fond of cream anything, and don't worry, I won't use any names, Chuck. But we're just at the point now where we can throw the clams in. This is just one can of clams from our local superstore, so I'm sure wherever you are you can find canned clams, or if you're lucky enough to live on the coast you probably can go dig your own. So we're just going to let that heat up just a little, and you can see how that's really thickened up nicely here for me. And some grated Asiago cheese. You can use Parmesan cheese if you choose. We have tended to be getting more Asiago than anything lately, just because we like the flavor, and this is going to add a nice little tang to the sauce. Turn that off, and I'm just going to pop the pasta back into the water that I kept warm here. Again, I did that cold water rinse. Pop the pasta in. I always like to cook all the pasta that I make the day I make it, and then if you have leftovers, just throw it in a baggie and throw it in the freezer, and when you want it, you just take a baggie out and plop it in, get a pot of water boiling again, and put it in until it's thawed, and there you have it. So I'll just take this over here. Drain this up. And just to add a fancy little touch, I just chopped up some green onion and just sprinkled that on just to give it a bit more flavor. And there you have it, Shrum pasta for lunch. Cooking with Gigi.